Yaki Kadafi was born in 1977 in New Jersey. His real name was Yafeu Akinyele Fula. Kadafi was one of 7 children, and his parents, Shakur and Yaasmyn Fula, were members of the Black Panther Party, a revolutionary political party formed in 1966 to challenge police brutality against African Americans. Kadafi's mother and Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, became close friends while they were both active members of the party. The Shakur and Fula families formed a strong bond, especially during the Panther 21 trial in 1969. Afeni and Kadafi's father had various charges against them due to their activism. Afeni, pregnant with Tupac at the time, represented herself in court. Both were later acquitted and found not guilty. After the trial, Yaasmyn and Afeni worked as paralegals at Bronx Legal Services in 1973. Tupac and Kadafi grew up around the activism of their mothers and witnessed meetings, demonstrations and classes. Afeni and Yaasmyn even lived together for some time in New York. That was when their children, Tupac and Kadafi, developed a deep bond. They were godbrothers. In October 1981, Kadafi's mother was summoned to testify against other activists. She refused and was sent to jail for 18 months. Kadafi spent most of his time with Tupac's family, as well as his grandmother. He spoke to his father briefly, but never saw him again. Tupac was 6 years older than Kadafi. He was there during his early childhood, but later moved to Baltimore, Maryland, with his mother and sister. But the two families remained close. Kadafi saw Tupac break into the music industry. He too had a talent for rapping and was one of the founding members of the group Dramacidal, along with Napoleon, who was his childhood friend. At the time, he was known as Young Hollywood. He was only 16. Tupac mentored him, helping him to cultivate his songwriting and rhyming skills. The group featured on Tupac's album, Me Against the World. When Tupac was locked up in 1995, Kadafi visited him daily. At one of these visits, they decided to form the group Outlaw Immortals, which was later just known as Outlawz. The group would include members of Dramacidal and Tupac's former group, Thug Life. The group included Hussein Fatal, Tupac's stepbrother, Morphine Shakur, and Big Psych. Also, e.d.i Mean and Castro. There was also a female member, Storm. Each member chose names to coincide with various world leaders who resisted control by the Western world, past and present. Yaki Kadafi is a play on the Libyan leader's name, Colonel Gaddafi. Tragically, quite a few members of the Outlawz passed away in subsequent years. When Tupac was bailed out later that year, Kadafi met with him to sign a record deal. He featured on Tupac's All Eyes on Me album, appearing on 3 tracks. He appeared in music videos with Pac, joined him at award shows and performed with him. He became well known to those in the hip-hop community. The Outlawz recorded frequently with Tupac throughout 1996, more notably rapping with him on the infamous Hit 'Em Up diss track against Biggie Smalls and Bad Boy Entertainment. Then, on September the 7th, 1996, Tupac was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting near the Las Vegas Strip. He was rushed to hospital where fans, friends and family members kept a vigil while he was operated on and put into an induced coma. Some friends of Pac said members of the Outlawz were there and were distraught. At the time, many of them were just teenagers. They were believed to be taking it harder than most. Kadafi in particular was seen taking it the hardest. Desiree Smith, a close friend of Tupac, who supported his mother the day he passed away, spoke about how distraught Yaki was at the hospital. He said he felt he was going to die soon. I told him not to say that, she said. There is power in the tongue. Tupac used to say he would die at 25. Tupac died from his wounds 6 days later. On the night of the shooting, Kadafi was in the car directly behind him and claimed to have seen a white Cadillac pull up and open fire. He reportedly said he could identify the driver and had requested that it be kept 100% confidential. But news reporters soon exposed his name. Las Vegas detectives claimed they had been eager to interview Kadafi and wanted to show him a folder with photos of possible suspects, but never heard from him despite leaving messages with his record company's attorney. In 2018, former Outlaw member Napoleon went live on Instagram to answer questions from fans. He said he stayed with Kadafi after Tupac's death for a month. Every day I saw him, he was out of it. It really affected him. When I was looking in his face, he didn't even want to live anymore.
Man, after Pac died, man, Kadafi took it bad. You know what I mean? I think out of all of us, he took it the worst. It really affected him. I was with him in Jersey. After Pac died in September, I was with Kadafi in Jersey, I think up until about, for like a month. I was with him until like October. I think October I went down to Atlanta. And he was out of it. You know what I mean? He was out of it. Every day that I seen him, it was, he was really out of it, man. It was sad. Like, it really affected him. You know what I mean? It really affected him, man. Like, when Kadafi, when I was looking in his face, he didn't even want to live anymore. He was just like, man, I don't even care about living anymore. Kadafi and Pac was very close. You know what I mean? Kadafi and Pac was very close. And they had a special relationship, man. If you see pictures, you will see pictures when they were small kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, 3 years old together. You know what I mean? They had a very close relationship, man. So I think it affected Kadafi in a negative way, man. I think he was going after that. I never seen him the same after Pac died.
Just 2 months after Tupac's death, Kadafi was shot and killed in a New Jersey apartment building. He was there visiting his girlfriend. Police found him slumped in the 3rd floor hallway at 3:48 a.m. after receiving a report of the shooting. He was just 19 years old. Napoleon would then go on to say that it was his cousin Roddy who killed him. In a Vlad TV interview, he explained how he introduced his cousin to Kadafi and they soon became friends.
My little cousin Roddy, he also he always had a gun on him, you know what I mean? And imagine an individual who's not in his right mind. He probably was 13, 14, 15 years old, always high, playing with a gun, you know? He said that he was playing with the gun, pointed it in the face of Kadafi, and the gun accidentally went off.
Napoleon told his cousin that if it was an accident, he should turn himself in. He eventually did, and ended up serving 7 to 8 years. He is now out and focusing on raising his kids. Napoleon said, "My cousin told me it was an accident. I never really sat down with him besides that day and talked to him about it. Since he's been home and the times I've been around him, I never really brought it up again. I want to accept it as an accident because I don't want to think something intentionally happened to Kadafi." One person who isn't buying the accident story is Kadafi's mother. In a Facebook post addressing the Outlawz after a 2017 Vlad TV interview, Yaasmyn wrote, "My son was murdered by Roddy Beal, Muta's cousin. Make no mistake, it was murder. Muta's family threatened all the witnesses and folks willing to come forward to testify that Roddy had threatened Yaki." Speaking of Napoleon, she wrote, "He chose to support his cousin, listening only to his version of what happened. You can't have it both ways. Either you stand for the truth or you stand for the lie." Addressing the Las Vegas police around the time of her son's death, Yaasmyn said, "I believe that the Las Vegas Police Department exploited my son's death by telling everybody that they had lost their only witness to the shooting of Tupac. But that was a lie, and they knew it. The police used our family's tragedy as a convenient excuse for the failure of their own investigation. As of now, Tupac's murder is considered unsolved, but many believe it was Orlando Anderson who shot him. He and Tupac were involved in an altercation, which was caught on camera just before the shooting. Kadafi was willing to help with the investigation, but his mother and other potential witnesses claimed the police never followed through with these leads. The trauma of witnessing the shooting of his friend, who he considered a brother, must have had a lasting impact on Kadafi. Yaasmyn, who was a photojournalist, released a book about her son Kadafi and Tupac called Spirit of an Outlaw, the untold story of Tupac Shakur and Yaki. It contains over 200 images of the two, which shows the bond they shared. A year before his death, Tupac had huge plans to start his own record company, with the view of expanding it into a production company for media, publishing and entertainment. He invited Yaasmyn to California to run it for him. No doubt, they were family, and Yaasmyn was a second mother to him. Sadly, those plans never came to fruition, but Yaasmyn went on to work for Quincy Jones the following year, and she now works in film production and continues to write books. Have you read the book? Do you have friends who are more like siblings to you? Or is it rare these days? Thanks for watching. Rate, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to press the bell for more.